For some people, a car is just transportation. For others, walking past a certain model makes them stop, look twice, and imagine what it would feel like to drive it. They remember engine sounds, body shapes, generations, tiny design details, and sometimes watch reviews of cars they have no intention of buying. Why does a machine become emotionally meaningful? The answer is more interesting than simply saying they love cars, because often what someone feels toward a car is connected to identity, control, freedom, memory, and even the way they want to be seen by other people. Think about someone who has just finished a difficult day. They get into their car, close the door, start the engine, and suddenly the outside world becomes quieter. For a few minutes, they are alone with their thoughts. That can make the car feel like more than transportation. Objects can become associated with emotional states through repeated experience. The car becomes linked with relief after work, excitement on a road trip, independence after getting a driver's license, or comfort when someone wants to be alone. Eventually, the emotion attaches itself to the object. This is one reason two people can look at the same car and see completely different things. One person sees horsepower and engineering. Another sees childhood memories. Someone else sees independence, and another person may see achievement. The object is identical, but its meaning is not. We don't experience objects only for what they are. We experience what they represent. For many people, cars also become part of their identity. Psychologists sometimes describe this through the idea of the extended self, the tendency for possessions to become incorporated into our sense of who we are. Your clothes can communicate something about you. Your home can reflect your taste. And for some people, their car becomes another expression of the self. It can say, "This is what I value," without requiring them to say anything out loud. Imagine two friends arriving at a gathering. One drives an old family car. The other arrives in a carefully modified sports car. Neither vehicle tells the whole story, but both can communicate signals. The first might represent nostalgia, practicality, or family connection. The second might communicate creativity, status, performance, or individuality. These interpretations aren't always accurate, but we naturally use visible cues to form impressions of other people. And this leads to a deeper question. Do car enthusiasts love cars because of what the machines are, or because of what the machines allow them to feel? For some, the answer is control. Modern life can be unpredictable. Work changes, relationships become complicated, plans fall apart. But when someone sits behind the wheel, there is a simple relationship between action and response. Turn the wheel, the car turns. Press the pedal, it accelerates. Brake, it slows. That immediate feedback can feel deeply satisfying. It gives the brain a clear sense of agency, the feeling that your actions can directly influence what happens next. This may explain why driving can feel rewarding to people who value autonomy, the experience of having meaningful control over your own choices. A car can physically represent that idea. You choose the destination, the route, the music, and when to stop. For a while, nobody is asking you what to do. You are simply moving through the world on your own terms. But there is another side to this. Cars can also become symbols of competence. Learning to drive, mastering a manual transmission, understanding an engine, maintaining a vehicle, or modifying one successfully can create a sense of mastery. Psychology consistently finds that becoming capable at something can be rewarding in itself. The satisfaction isn't only, "I have a better car." It can be, "I understand this." Someone repairing an old engine may not be chasing status at all. They may be chasing the feeling of solving a difficult problem. Every mysterious noise becomes a puzzle, and every successful repair becomes evidence that they can figure things out. In that sense, the car becomes a physical playground for curiosity and competence. Then there is the emotional pull of sound, movement, and anticipation. The brain is highly responsive to sensory information and reward prediction. When someone hears an engine rev, watches a car accelerate, or anticipates the feeling of driving a particular vehicle, The experience can become exciting before anything even happens. The anticipation itself can be rewarding. The mind begins to associate certain cues with pleasure and excitement. That is why someone might scroll through car videos late at night without realizing how much time has passed. They're not necessarily interested in transportation. They're engaging with a world of novelty, comparison, anticipation, and imagined experience. What would it feel like to drive this? Is a powerful question because the brain can simulate experiences without actually living them. But perhaps the strongest psychological connection comes from memory. Think about the first car you remember sitting in as a child. Maybe it belonged to a parent. Maybe it was an old family vehicle after a long trip. Maybe you remember falling asleep in the back seat while your family drove home at night. Years later, the same smell of fabric, the shape of a dashboard, or even a particular engine sound can bring that period of life back with surprising emotional force. Memories are not stored as isolated facts. They are connected to sensory and emotional associations. A familiar cue can reactivate parts of a memory. So when someone says, "I just love this old car," they may be responding to much more than its design. They may be responding to a version of themselves that existed when that car was part of their world. This is also why nostalgia can make certain cars feel almost magical. We tend to remember emotionally meaningful periods selectively, often smoothing over some of their difficulties. A car associated with adolescence can become a symbol of youth, friendship, freedom, or possibility. Loving the car can therefore become a way of staying connected to what it represented. Yet not every relationship with cars is about nostalgia or freedom. Sometimes it is about social belonging. Humans are social creatures, and hobbies create communities. A person who feels out of place in other social settings may discover that cars give them a language they share with others. At a meetup, they can talk about engines, design, modifications, racing, restoration, or a favorite model. A common interest creates instant conversation. This is one reason hobbies can become powerful sources of belonging. The car may be only half the attraction. The other half is the community around it. But there is a fascinating contradiction here. Cars can symbolize individuality while simultaneously creating belonging. Someone might customize their vehicle specifically to make it different from everyone else's, and then join a community of people who appreciate exactly that difference. In other words, the car helps them say, "This is me," while also saying, "These are my people." And then we reach the part people often misunderstand: status. Yes, some people genuinely care about what a car communicates socially. Expensive or prestigious cars can function as status symbols because humans pay attention to signals of resources, achievement, and social position. But reducing every luxury car enthusiast to insecurity misses something important. People can enjoy status, design, engineering, comfort, and personal achievement at the same time. The better question isn't, what kind of person drives this car? It's, what meaning does this person attach to it? For one person, a dream car represents success after years of hard work. For another, it represents freedom. For another, it is simply a beautiful machine. And for someone else, it may connect them to a parent, a childhood dream, or a community that made them feel understood. So perhaps the hidden psychology of loving cars isn't really about cars at all. It is about what humans do with objects. We turn them into symbols. We attach memories to them. We use them to express identity, experience competence, seek autonomy, connect with others, and imagine possible versions of ourselves. That is why the same machine can mean almost nothing to one person and everything to another. The next time you see someone unusually passionate about a car, instead of asking, "Why are they so obsessed with that thing?" ask, "What does that car represent to them?" Because sometimes what people love quietly reveals something about who they are. And if you enjoy discovering the psychology hidden inside ordinary human behavior, subscribe to PsycheLens because the more closely we look at everyday life, the more we realize that almost nothing is as simple as it first appears.